Shall we get to the questions? Come on, go ahead and hit that like button. The first question is from João Jose. China and Russia face Trump in an attack on Brazil? Well, my dear, Donald Trump is trying to end the war against Iran, right? And he said that the next to be attacked will be South America. We don't know who he's talking about, but there are already suspicions that he wants our resources, right? And this situation of labeling PCC and Comando Vermelho, which really need to be destroyed as terrorists, creates a favorable environment for interventions, including military ones, by the United States in Brazil. Well, given this context, then you ask me, would China and Russia confront Trump if he attacked Brazil? I don't know. I know that China has already spoken out and recognizes Brazil as a democracy, as an independent, autonomous, and sovereign country. And the same goes for Russia, right? Russia as well, with Vladimir Putin, and China with Xi Jinping. Both countries are part of BRICS, which is an economic and political bloc that Brazil is also a signatory of. They are together in the same bloc. And these two nations have already declared that any kind of intervention or attack by the United States against Brazil is unacceptable. Brazil is in a peaceful region. We don't have nuclear bombs. We're not a country of war or conflict. On the contrary, right? And if Donald Trump does that, obviously it won't be to fight the PCC or Comando Vermelho. It will be to try to take our wealth, to steal our resources, just like he's doing to Venezuela. Just as he tried to do the same with Iran, and Iran fought back with all they had. And the question is, I don't know if China and Russia would confront the United States under Donald Trump if by any chance Donald Trump attacked Brazil. Any action like that would be completely absurd. Because I repeat, we know we have our own problems and we are the ones who should solve them, not the United States. Especially because what he wants is our oil, our water, the Amazon, our rare earths, the critical minerals. He doesn't want to solve any problems. He wants to steal, just like he's doing to Venezuela, stealing thousands and thousands of barrels of oil every day from Venezuela, including its gold. But let's wait and see. Lula is very respected internationally, and deep down I don't believe it. I think it's so absurd that I don't believe Trump would attack Brazil militarily. Even though he is crazy, a crazy fascist and extremist, yes. But I think it's more likely that he might try to intervene economically, with economic embargoes, with that kind of action. A military attack would be very serious. It would really be something very serious, right? But let's wait and see. Lula has several partners and Lula is a great statesman, right? That has to be taken into account as well. But thank you for the question, Jose. João Jose, thank you. Let's go to the next question here. It's from Maria. Once again, I'll ask the question. If Trump attacks Brazil, will our armed forces stay quiet? After all, we pay these people. Isn't that what they're for? To defend the country? How is that going to be? Well, I don't believe it, dear. That if we get attacked, that the armed forces in Brazil will just stand by. I don't believe that, right? Brazil has the largest army, one of the largest armies in terms of number of men in the world. But Brazil is a country of peace. It doesn't invest much in technology, in fighter jets, or in a whole range of military-related areas. Weapons. Of course, we have them. We have fighter jets. We have everything. But if we compare ourselves to the United States, we're very weak because the United States really invests in that. They have nuclear warheads, atomic bombs, a whole range of things. Now, obviously, if there's an attack like that, the police will respond, the armed forces will respond, but we have to face reality. The United States is one of the greatest military powers in the world, and we are not. In terms of the number of soldiers, we have one of the largest armies. In terms of people, but when it comes to weaponry and so on, we don't. And for sure, if that happens, the armed forces will react. But I repeat, I don't believe that will happen. It's so absurd, it's so, Bolsonarist, so extremist that I don't believe there will be a military attack. I believe in embargoes, in economic sanctions, a series of situations, right? Even trying to interfere in the election to bring Lula down, but this kind of military situation, I really don't believe it. It's very hard for us to take that in. I repeat, not because Donald Trump isn't crazy enough to do that, but there are a number of other situations and pressures, like the BRICS, from Russia itself, from China itself, who have already expressed support for Brazil. And Brazil shouldn't have to suffer any kind of intervention because it's a democracy, it's a sovereign country, right? So, because of international pressure, I can't even imagine such an absurd situation, but coming from Donald Tranquera, we can't rule anything out, right? Thank you for the question, Maria. Let's go to the next one. Luziel Melo. Dr. Andrea, Flávio is going to the United States to defend the pics he received from Banco Master, not the pics of Brazilians. I'm speaking from Mãe do Rio, Pará. Thank you, Luziel, for the question and the comment. Yeah, Flávio Bolsonaro now says he's going to the United States to defend pigs, right? And our dear Luziel is saying that he's going to defend the pics he received from Daniel Vorcaro's mafia, not the pics of the Brazilian people. Actually, Flávio Bolsonaro is desperate, right, guys? A new poll just came out showing Lula with another 8 percentage points in the vote. Lula wins in the first round. And Flávio only has 31% of voting intentions, while Lula has 42%, just a little more, and Lula wins in the first round. So Flávio is plummeting in the polls. Then he shamelessly says that now he's going to the United States to defend PIX and to argue against heavy tariffs on Brazil. But in reality, they've always attacked PIX. Do we remember Nicolas Ferreira with all that nonsense? Let's remember Eduardo Bolsonaro attacking Brazil, wanting intervention, wanting huge tariffs and all that. And now the shameless guy says he's going to the United States to defend PIX. Defend it so there won't be huge tariffs. For me, Flávio Bolsonaro is going to the United States. No, actually, it's to collude. It's to destroy evidence. It's to coordinate their stories regarding his accomplice, his brother Eduardo Bolsonaro, in the whole Daniel Vorcaro mafia fraud scheme. Why do I say that? What happened yesterday and today? Yesterday, Globo revealed that Flávio Bolsonaro really was at Daniel Vorcaro's house. And Daniel Vorcaro was already wearing an ankle monitor. Lauro Jardim revealed that. And the same Lauro Jardim revealed today that officially Flávio Bolsonaro and his gang are being investigated by the federal police for the crimes of money laundering, criminal organization, and illegal transfer of funds abroad. Regarding the situation with Flávio and the mafia involving Daniel Vorcaro, where's the money? More than 60 million that was supposed to go to the movie, but ended up in the Havergate Fund over in Texas with Eduardo Bolsonaro's lawyer. They still haven't accounted for it. And what about the rest of the money? Did it go or not? Where is it, guys? It's not there. And O Globo revealed all of this through Lauro Jardim, who, by the way, is the same Lauro Jardim who showed up in Daniel Vorcaro's conversations. He asked his henchman, the hitman, to stage a robbery and break all of Lauro Jardim's teeth because he was talking too much. Yeah, and this Lauro Jardim goes public and reveals all of this. And where is Flávio? I'm going to the United States to defend PIX, so there won't be a tariff hike. That's just a story to fool people. He's going there to try to destroy evidence and coordinate testimonies and statements. That's what they're doing because they've never defended PIX. And they've never been against the high tariffs. On the contrary, they're over there in the United States, especially Eduardo Bolsonaro, exactly for that purpose, which is high tariffs. I don't know what, Magre Chic law, baby magnistique, all those things we know about. So this whole situation is really shameless. So I agree with you. If he's going there, it's to defend the PX transfers they got from Daniel Vorcaro's mafia because they've always attacked Brazilians' use of PIX, including our sovereignty. You're absolutely right. Thank you for commenting. See, my dear, let's move to the next comment. Others are waiting. Danny, Dr. Andrea, does the prison authorities have authority over Bolsonaro's security guards in the prison? Why is this question being asked? Bolsonaro gave a statement today to the civil police of the federal district regarding that Glock 9mm pistol that was with the military officer, the GSI sergeant. A military officer who is part of the security detail of the former president of the republic. He took the gun, said he removed the firing pin from the weapon because Bolsonaro was handling the gun all the time. They were afraid Bolsonaro might do something foolish because Bolsonaro is unbalanced, according to Bolsonaro's defense. He removed the firing pin so it wouldn't work. And Bolsonaro took the gun, went over there, and saw that the gun wasn't working. Then Bolsonaro asked for it to be fixed. Then this military officer left with the gun and was caught at a police checkpoint by the federal district's military police. So what happens then? Now Dennis is asking here, how does that work? Because there is security for Bolsonaro at his house since he is under house arrest. Alexandre de Moraes will decide on Thursday whether to extend the house arrest. At his house, there are security guards who are military personnel from the Institutional Security Office, which provides security for former presidents of the Republic. And there are also people from the penitentiary system, correctional officers. There's also the federal district's military police. So he's asking who has more power, who has more authority over whom. Each one has its own authority within its responsibilities. When it comes to custody, the arrest of Bolsonaro, the prison officers and the military police of the federal district, who are also handling this situation, have all the power. To ensure that Bolsonaro does not have access to a phone or unauthorized visits and to carry out inspections. It's a series of situations that they would have as if he were in prison, just like any other inmate. Do you understand, my dear? All the power is there. And the institutional security people, what do they value the most? For the security of Bolsonaro as a former president of the Republic. Now the matter of custody and surveillance of the prisoner is handled by the prison police and the federal district military police, who are also put in charge of that. So each one has its own authority and power and does not interfere with the responsibilities of the others. Did you understand? That's the situation. And from this new development, right, that a prisoner shouldn't have a weapon. That's why Bolsonaro is now facing a police investigation with the federal district civil police. A convicted person shouldn't have a weapon, can't have a weapon, and he will have to explain this whole situation. And the Institutional Security Office should have reported this. Because I want you to understand, the Institutional Security Office has greater authority to enter the house. Right, Andra? Yes. While the police in charge of Bolsonaro's custody stay more on the outside. At the entrance, at the exit, there, watching the walls and so on. So the Institutional Security Office, which is made up of military personnel, and the military are public servants, they should have reported this incident with the gun. Should they have, Andre? Yes, they should. That's one of their duties as public servants. Whether or not they're on the custody detail. Is he from security? Yes, but he's a convict. He's not just a former president, he's a convict and inmate. And that should have been passed on. This military officer will also give a statement. And he will also be investigated. Why didn't he report this to the custody detail? By the corrections officers and the guys from the military police of the federal district, who also provide security for the prisoner, the convicted Bolsonaro. That should have also been reported, and it wasn't. Why? This all needs investigating, which is why the police inquiry began. Shall we move on, everyone? Andrea, my dear. Andrea Cristina. She says, and what about the case that's in Moraes' hands regarding the massacre in the Rio de Janeiro favela? About the militias and the criminal gangs, today terrorist groups, protection? Look, that situation is under investigation, right? The thing is, the mess and the crime are so big. Now, they've already discovered involvement with the Red Command, which is involved with Ricardo Magro, who's a fugitive in the United States. where they laundered money through dozens of gas stations in Rio de Janeiro, even getting into the public administration of Claudio Castro's government, who is neck deep in this criminal organization. My dear. And there are police officers, public servants, all kinds of people involved, businessmen involved in this situation, and the Red Command. And this is under the responsibility of Justice Alexandre de Moraes, and the investigations are ongoing by the federal police. And almost until last month, almost every week, someone was arrested. Almost every week, someone was being arrested. Now, the mastermind behind all of this, very possibly, is who? Flávio Bolsonaro's longtime ally, the former governor of Rio de Janeiro, already removed from office and ineligible, Claudio Castro. I don't believe in shielding anyone, and the investigations are ongoing. The thing is, the corruption scheme in the state of Rio de Janeiro is huge, including even secretaries of the former governor Claudio Castro, who were appointed by whom? Guess? Flávio Bolsonaro. One of Flávio Bolsonaro's biggest allies is already in jail. The former president of the Legislative Assembly, Rodrigo Bacelar, is already in jail. T.H. Hoyas, right, is already in jail. Two secretaries from Claudio Castro's government, appointed by Flávio, are already in jail. And the latest one now was the secretary of the local Consumer Protection Agency, who was also appointed by Flávio Bolsonaro, who was the target of search and seizure warrants. So the police are investigating. I don't believe there's any shielding, and the scheme is huge. It involves people from the Liberal Party, Bolsonaro supporters, and maybe soon, don't be surprised if Flávio also ends up in the eye of the storm of this criminal organization. Because so far everyone who's been arrested is one of his allies from the same political group in Rio de Janeiro. See? And any new information, I'll share it with you firsthand. Thank you for the question, my dear. Another question from Andrea. Andrea, about the end of the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule, will there be a general strike? I want to know that too. Lula's government is trying to solve everything calmly and trying to convince Davi Alcolumbre to move it forward. If they discuss and advance the constitutional amendment approved by the Chamber of Deputies to end the 6 days on, 1 day off work schedule, it will pass. Easily. Now, if he doesn't put it up for discussion, there's no way to approve it. And the government is trying calmly. I believe that if Davi Alcolumbre doesn't move to put it up for discussion, then I think there have to be calls for people to go out into the streets, to have a general strike. And the workers in large numbers, right, left, everyone going out into the streets for this, which isn't going to break anyone, people. Not everyone. Was para ter aprovada. Everyone. Necessário que não vai quebrar ninguém. Everyone. For every 5 days of work, you'll have 2 days off to rest, and that's it. This isn't going to break anyone, okay? And we know that Davi Alcolumbre is acting all tough because he wants Lula's protection from the federal police. Daniel Vorcaro himself, in his last attempt to cooperate with prosecutors here, just now confessed. And he said for the first time that he paid a bribe to Davi Alcolumbre, 150 million reais, and that it was a bribe. Also the case of Bolsonaro's former minister, Ciro Nogueira. Now, obviously all of this is under investigation. It has to be investigated. But I already notice a lot of desperation from Davi Alcolumbre, especially with these actions of his, trying to sabotage the government, trying to blackmail the government. Anyway, for what? Protection? It's not going to happen. Whoever did wrong will be held accountable and will go to jail. Let justice be served. Smash the like button, leave your question, and most importantly, share the live stream, okay? Bye. See you at the next Q&A. Here you always get an answer. Take care. Bye-bye.